Nil by Mouth could be seen as a 1990s revival of the 1960s/70s British kitchen sink realism movement, but unfortunately, well, fortunately for its successes and effectiveness as a film, and for us as viewers to a point, fortunately for us, we have to experience, the experience can be challenging. The film is rather a personal reflection upon writer-director Gary Oldman's own childhood. Well known as a famous actor by this point in time, in 1997 Gary Oldman decided to take his hand at writing and directing a tale that was very personal to his own, partially based on his own experiences, his relationship with his father. What we have is, it's an extraordinary case where an actor decided that they wanted to realize this story, and it had nothing to do with it being a vanity piece for them. They didn't want to place themselves in the cast. Whether maybe this is just because they thought it would be too distracting for the audience, it would make the finished film seem too unreal. Though it has it's just, I just find it kind of heartbreaking that someone's reflection on their childhood winds up being this particular film. That is all. It's an incredibly powerful film. I understand why it was so revered in the context of British film, why it was considered the best and almost the be-all to end-all kitchen sink drama. There's a certain tragic timelessness about Nil by Mouth as well. There's not much references to contemporary 1990s culture. It's almost as though this sort of, I guess I don't mean this word to be classist, but it's just kind of, derelict environment is just kind of it's almost a ephemeral, it's I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, even using that word appropriately. It's beyond time itself. The time does, the effects of the erosion of ages, of popular culture, and the kind of gradual fluctuating market of discourse and popular ideas. It doesn't seem to affect this section of British society at all. They don't remember the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s as moments in time. They just remember it as barely noticeable background salad dressing to ultimately this life of squalor, repetition, and booze and cigarette-filled mundanity. I feel bad discussing this film because I'm inevitably discussing this film from a place of relative economic, sustainability and safety by comparison, and it's just I almost feel as though, you see reviews from this film from the upper middle classes of society, which I'm amongst, and it's almost as though, like, what are we praising this film for? It's like, oh yes, look at this depiction of life. I mean, this isn't to go at the film, but more like the culture around the film. Like, what does it do for us? Like, do we just take this artistic depiction of the suffering of the lower classes of the lower socioeconomic brackets and just kind of admire it? What do they think of these films? Do they enjoy them, or do they just think we're romanticizing their plight in order to make us feel as though we understand the world better and we're not living in ivory towers because we watch these sorts of films? But Nil by Mouth is an extraordinary accomplishment in any case. As far as the assessment of a production is concerned, I have to admit, when I'm the kind of person who tends to think that actors might overstate how difficult their job is in general, although I feel as though if an actor had to commit to a role this intense, so straining and so emotionally devastating and potentially hazardous to one's psyche, no one wants to embody such and demonstrate such traumatic events. It must be at least, mildly shocking, to have to play and enact these moments out. These are the moments when I really don't envy actors and can safely say I couldn't do that. And it's not because I don't have the want to try and train or talent. If I had the talent, by happenstance, I wouldn't want to commit to those sequences. It seems quite challenging and just daunting emotionally. If this film is perceived as an instance wherein those from a more, say, privileged bracket of society can pretend that they're acknowledging the less fortunate in society. I think we can at least appreciate the fact that this drama and this world is getting a voice in the mainstream media discourse at all. Because if you want to see popular depictions of regular life in our media, well, there are people in society whose regular life is or was the circumstances depicted in Nil by Mouth. An extraordinarily difficult film to watch at times, but one which I feel as though will be an unforgettable one for most viewers. One of the better accomplishments of British cinema released during the 1990s, I could absolutely claim.